listening to the Content Source Podcast, a show all about how to create content to attract, convert, and keep your ideal clients. Welcome to episode 270. I'm Suzi Dafnis, and here with me is my co-host, Michelle Falzon. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Hey, Suzi. I am really well, and I'm looking forward, as always, to chatting with you and to sharing this episode, because this is a conversation that you and I have been having a lot lately. Because we work with a lot of women and they've got fantastic offers. They sell great products. They've got great clients. They've got great intentions. But when it comes to actually getting new clients and making the sale, things start to feel hard pretty quickly. And what we often find is a lot of these issues come down to the fact they just don't have enough sales systems. They're doing too many parts of the sales process either manually or inconsistently or completely on the fly, maybe in like a knee-jerk reaction style based on, needing to drum up a few sales.
Right, and there's nothing systematic or systemized about what they're doing. And that means what happens is they might stir up a bunch of leads, but they can't capitalize on them because they let it go too long to get back to people and people go cold. But if they had a system for lead follow-up in place, for example, a lot of those hard-earned leads and often expensive leads would become sales. Or they confuse their prospects by putting out disjointed messaging or hard-to-follow sales processes, or they attract the wrong kind of leads because they don't have a system for really dialing in and determining their ideal client. Or, and we see this a lot, they build a beautiful product or service, but they remain a best kept secret to their market because no one knows they exist, and so much more that really could be solved by systemization.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we want to talk about today. Not just why systemizing the sale is so important, but actually walking through a self-check process that you, our listener, can use to maybe identify the parts of your sales process that are still missing systems or that need a brush up in the systems and what you can do about it. And this is actually a nine-part self-check because there's quite a lot there involved with sales. And because it's so comprehensive, what we're going to do is we're going to do the first part of this process in today's show. We'll do the first 5 parts, and then we're going to do the rest in a follow-up episode.
Yes, we are. So we are going to give you some of it today, and then we'll tell you when we're going to do the second part a little later on in today's episode. But what that means is you get a chance to implement these first sales systems before the next batch. And if you have questions, of course, we're there and available for you to ask questions of. So let's go.
Yeah, let's kick things off with the first area we want to look at when it comes to systemizing your sales. And this is, where it's always good to begin with the vision, with where are you going? And so this is really getting a system around your sales goals. And this one is foundational because if you don't know what success looks like, it's really hard to build a system that gets you there.
Right. That's exactly right. And what we see is people putting in great content, a great effort to create great content, or they've got a decent enough offer, right? But there's no clear goal driving it. It's like they've pulled it out of a hat. So that sales activity ends up being reactive and all over the place and rarely results in the actual sales that they want. Like they'll get some sales, but they're not hitting those goals because they haven't really created that vision that you mentioned. They're doing the work of selling, but without the structure and focus that makes that work really effective and brings in those results.
Yeah, and this is something we're constantly reminding people of. We'll have someone tell us they want to create a lead magnet. But when we dig into that strategy a bit more and ask about these specific sales goals, where do you want to go? How many sales do you want to get? And how many opt-ins of the lead magnet do you need to get that number of sales? There's not a lot of clarity. It's like, I've got the system. I've got a lead magnet, right? That's my system. But if you don't know where that lead magnet fits into your goals, you don't know how much heavy lifting that lead magnet needs to do. Whereas if you knew you needed to get 10 sales of your $5,000 coaching program this quarter, and you knew you needed to have 20 sales conversations, say, to get those 10 sales, and maybe you need 200 new qualified leads to get those 20 conversations, you see how we're kind of backing out of that? I need 10 sales. That means I've got to have 20 sales conversations. That means I need to get 200 leads. Now you have a sales goal and you can be crystal clear about where that lead magnet fits in and how that sales process needs to perform and what the key focus is. Where do I put my energy? What's the definition of winning in this case? And that's where a systemized approach to actually setting your sales goals makes all the difference.
Yeah, so let's have a look at what that might look like. First, you want to be clear on the vision that Michelle mentioned. What are you trying to create in your business and in your life, really? And how might you get closer to that in the next 12 months? This is where we recommend, inside of her business, we have something that we call a big kahuna vision. This is the one thing that, if realized in the next 12 months, would revolutionize your business and head you towards your bigger overall vision. So your big kahuna vision is your 12-month vision, your 12-month goal. So that can be a financial target. So it could be, I want to increase my revenue from 150,000 to 200,000 this year. It could be a shift in how you want to make your revenue. For example, you might say, I want to generate at least 30% of my sales from not client-facing work, from non-one-on-one work. And it could be another goal that requires several other targets to be in place. And I want to give you an example. So the lovely Chantel Gilbert of Blue Gum Electrical is part of our Marketing Success Mastermind. And when we set our big kahuna visions every year for the next year, one year Chantel had a big kahuna of putting another electrical van on the road. That was her big kahuna goal, the one thing that, if realized in the next 12 months, would revolutionize her business. And on paper, it sounded really weird. What do you mean? You want another van? But here's the thing. What she knew was that it would make the biggest difference in her business because it meant that she had a significant increase in sales to justify another electrician and another van out there on the road. And she knew that another van on the road probably meant another $1 million in revenue. So once you have your big kahuna vision, you want to look at the sales targets that you need in order to make that up. So what mix of products and services you're going to sell in order to achieve that big kahuna. So again, we're looking at 12 months. So it might be that you want to sell 100 of your $2,000 courses this year and 10 of your $10,000 one-on-one consulting services to achieve your overall sales goal, which in this instance is $300,000 in revenue. And 2/3 of that is coming from non-one-to-one work. Now, the important thing here is to create that sales target. How many sales of which products and services, which offers do you need to make your big kahuna happen? And this is an exercise that we do with the women inside of her business. And now you've got something concrete to build a system around. Now you can ask, what content do I need? What's my timeline? What's my conversion rate? How many leads do I need? You've got a destination, and now you can design the journey to get there.
Right. And you want to build in specific times of the year that you set and review those sales goals. You might do some annual planning once a year. Like we really like November for that time frame to plan the year ahead.
Yeah.
And then you might want to have a way to review those targets. Perhaps it's each quarter. Maybe it's right as you set up your promotion and your campaign, and then it's as you complete the campaign and check that, you achieved them or you recalibrate them for next time. The important thing is that you're making time on a regular basis to set and review sales goals, and that those sales goals are lining up with your overall vision for your business and your life. That's how you actually bring these ideas of what you want to have into reality. So here's your quick self-check question, because this is a 9-part check-in for this part of the process. Do I have a specific monthly or quarterly sales goal tied to a clear annual sales target that aligns with my business vision? So I'll just say that again. This is your question to ask yourself about your sales goal system. Do I have a specific monthly or quarterly sales goal tied to a clear annual sales target that aligns with my business vision? If your answer is not really, that's a sign you need to put some time into getting more systemized around your sales goals.
Yeah, and we realize that it's not necessarily black and white. You may have some clarity around sales in some areas of your business. So here's what we're going to do. With each of the areas of this check-in that we're going to be giving you, we're going to be giving you a little self-rating system. And it's like a traffic light system. So let me explain. So it might be helpful to rate yourself in terms of how systemized you are around your sales goals using this idea. Red means I don't have goals. I'm kind of guessing. It's kind of random. There's no wrong answers here. Orange is I set loose goals, but I don't actually track them. And green is I've got a clear, documented sales goal tied to a specific offer, and I check progress regularly. So if you think about those red, orange, green lights, where do you fit? Right, so just make a note wherever you are. And if you are on the road, if you're in the gym, if you're walking the dog, just do a mental note. Is it red, no goals, guessing random? Orange, I set loose goals and don't track them. Or green, I've got a clear documented sales goal tied to a specific offer and I check my progress regularly. So the first thing you want to do is set some time in your calendar this week to set some high-level annual sales goals if you don't have them, and have a look at what they might look like for each quarter. So you want to choose the offer or the offers that you're going to focus on, set a revenue target, and then calculate how many sales of each offer you need in order to reach your annual revenue target.
Yeah, and then we recommend you go one step further, and this is where systems become real, is to write it down in a sales planning doc or in your calendar or wherever it makes sense for you to be putting that. But the key is make it visible, because what's visible gets focus and energy, and what gets focus and energy gets results. So this becomes the anchor, these sales goals and this, sense of timing and tied to which product or service you're going to sell and when, really becomes the anchor for everything else you systemize. Your messaging, your timelines, your follow-up, all of it flows from your sales goal. So you know what you're doing, what messages you're sending and what activities you're doing actually ties back to achieving your sales goal in some way.
So once you've got a clear goal and you know how many sales, we just said of each offer, the next question is, who do I want those sales to come from? And this is so important. This is the second part of your sales system self-check, and that is ideal client. If you listen to the show for 1 minute, you'll know that we are always going on about the ideal client, because if you're not clear on who your offer's for, your messaging is going to be vague, your content will not resonate, your sales will feel like a grind. And so you need a system for this, for your ideal client. This is one of those areas that we see people think they've got this sorted, but when we ask, tell me about your ideal client, they say things like, well, it's women aged 25 to 65 who want to improve their life, which is way too broad. It's a start, but it's still way too broad. You really need a system for first getting clear on your ideal client and then continuing to gather data and feedback to further understand that client and what they need from you and what messages they will resonate with the most. Now, this is work that never ends. I've been heading up her business for 30 years this year, and we continue to refine and reset and research our ideal client all the time. And we have systems in place that help us do that.
Right, because time goes on and suddenly, it's a couple of years and you haven't thought about your ideal client, and yet so much has changed.
Yeah.
So systemizing your ideal client means having a documented avatar. Remember, make it real, write it down. Something you can refer to every time you write a sales page, create a video, plan a launch, run a campaign. Something your team can refer to, something you can make sure others that are creating content for you or running Facebook ads or whatever it is really understands. And that ideal client avatar doesn't just include demographics, and demographics are things like how old they are and what sort of profession they might be in and what their family situation looks like and where they might live. You also want to capture psychographics. What are they most afraid of? What do they most want in the area that you help them with? What do they believe about the problem that you help them solve, and what might hold them back from buying from you? And importantly, you want to know the language that they are using to describe those things that are relevant to what you're helping them with, talking to them about. Now, we have got a ton of episodes and resources, as Suzi said, dedicated to how you do this, and we'll include links to those in today's show notes. You are absolutely going to want to get today's show notes. They're going to be really rich with a lot of resources and other episodes to check out, including our ideal client avatar template and the system for doing client interviews as well, so you can understand who you serve in a much deeper way. And systemizing your understanding of your ideal client also means having a plan for when you might do things like feedback surveys or analyze sales results to check which segment of your market is actually the one that's buying. Or maybe you want to gather some data and look at, well, what's our lifetime customer value at the moment, or what's our retention rate to make sure you're keeping those most ideal clients.
Yeah, rich resources, as Michelle mentioned. So definitely check out the show notes and we'll tell you where to get those in a minute. And the thing is, when you've got systems around continuously building and refining your ideal client avatar, it means that your paid advertising lands better. You create products and services that people actually want and that they'll pay for. And you're not reinventing your messaging every time. You know exactly who you're speaking to. And you're pulling directly from a client language bank. I'll say that again, a client language bank that you've created because you've done this work, like we said, the ideal client interviews that we're going to give you a resource for. And there's an added benefit when you do this work is it also helps with your objection handling, your offer design, even the bonuses that you might make available, because you're clear on what your ideal client needs to believe and think in order to say yes. So your check-in question, remember we're doing a check-in question for each of these areas. Your check-in question for this part is, am I crystal clear on who my offers are for? Do I have a documented ideal client avatar and a deep understanding of their real desires, problems, challenges, and objections, and a way to regularly review my buyer data? Now, here's how you can think about this rating around your ideal client. Red would be, I'm trying to appeal to too many people or to everyone, and I don't have any documentation. Orange is I have a loose idea about my ideal client, but nothing documented. And green is I have a clear, documented ideal client avatar that I refer to when creating content or making offers. And I have ways to regularly analyze my sales by client type and to get feedback from my ideal client. So take a moment and make a mental note, or if you have somewhere to write this down, of which band you fell into, red, orange, or green.
Right. And if you are in green, hey, we're cheering you on and applauding you. That's fantastic. And if you're thinking, oh, you know what, I'm a bit more in the orange zone or maybe in the red zone, your action step, and ideally you're doing this as soon as you possibly can, is to take one offer, one thing you sell, and create a simple ideal client avatar document for it. Who is the ideal client for that thing that you sell, your product or your service? And we mentioned that we've got a template for this. There's a actual, all the boxes laid out, all the questions to think about to answer who is this person and help you really think that through. And that's actually in our second episode we ever recorded. That shows how important this is. Episode 2, it's called Your Ideal Client. We'll put a link to it in the show notes. And you want to grab that template and just kind of work your way through it. It's a really great starter. But at a minimum, just open a blank document or write on your notepad an answer to these 5 questions. What outcome or solution does your ideal client for this particular offer want more than anything? What's keeping them stuck around achieving the solution or taking action to solve this problem? What do they believe about their situation? So if you're a menopause coach like Angela Council in our mastermind group, what does that woman who is presently struggling with menopause believe about her situation? That it can't be fixed? That it's only if I just look after my diet? Or it's hereditary, my mother struggled, so I'm bound to struggle? Or are they thinking, I can do something about this, I'm just looking for the right person? What do they believe about their situation, and what do they need to believe in order to buy from you? So what outcome or solution does your client want more than anything? What's keeping them stuck? What do they believe about their situation? What do they need to believe in order to buy from you? And finally, what objections or hesitations might they have? So that's just a good thing to understand about your ideal client. And ideally, find someone who fits that ideal client profile and ask them if you can interview them to get your thoughts and to really verify what you're thinking, not just making it up, but really seeing from your market. Do they really think that? Is that really what's holding them back? What language are they using, and so on? This is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you've made that start, we recommend that you plan out some time over the coming 90 days to do a few more interviews. We recommend a minimum of 5, and to invest a bit more time in the avatar document, flesh it out, try and get more and more specific and less generalized or vague. So once you know who you're selling to, which we've just covered, the next step is getting super clear on what it is that you're actually offering them. That's what we'll talk about next. So we've looked at 2 of the 9 parts of the sales system. Self-check. We've talked about having a system for your sales goals, and we've talked about clarifying your ideal client. Now we want to talk about the 3rd part of your sales system self-check, and that's what's your system for creating and maintaining high-converting offers. Now, those words are very deliberate, creating and maintaining high-converting offers. Now, this is one of those areas where a lot of people say, yep, I've got an offer, but when we go deeper, we realise they don't actually have it documented or systemised, nor do they have the system that has all the pieces that are important for a high-converting offer. They're missing some of those key pieces.
Right. They might have something documented. They might know the price, for example, and have a general idea of what's included, but they don't have some of these other pieces. They're not thinking about bonuses or how to reduce risk and so on. Or maybe it's all living in their head and, they're holding all this information. So every time they go to promote it, they're rethinking it, they're rewriting it, they're redeciding all the elements. Maybe it looked different on the sales page versus what they said on the webinar, and that creates confusion, not just for you, but for your team, for your buyer. Because if you're not clear what your offer is, your buyer definitely won't be. And if you're confusing your buyer, you're blocking the sale. Plus, we usually find that even when an offer is documented and thought out, there are some really key things missing because the offer system has some clear elements. In fact, there are 7 elements that we have talked about on this show and that we use in our own marketing and that we teach to our masterminders and the wider community that you want to have in every single offer. 7 elements. And so how are you going to package and position what you're selling so that you have a high converting offer? Well, you want to make sure you've got 1, the price, and you've been strategic about that. 2, you're very clear about what's included, the inclusions. 3, you've named your offer in a way that's compelling and consistent. 4, you've thought about how to brand what it is you're selling. Is it in your brand colors? Does it have its own logo, or does it sit as a subset of your main brand? Number 5 is bonuses. What are you doing to incentivize the sale? What free gifts or limited time opportunities are you adding into the mix? Number 6 is risk reversal. What are you doing right now to reduce risk, to have somebody feel like they can buy from you? Is it a guarantee? Is it a warranty? Is it a trial period? And then number 7, what's the reason to buy right now? What are you putting into the whole process to have somebody feel like, oh, I got to get onto this right now. This is going away, or the price is going up, or the bonus is going away, or I've only got 10 places. So those 7 elements, regardless of whether you sell high ticket, low ticket, physical product, service, those 7 elements apply.
And these are the elements of a high converting offer. As Michelle mentioned, sometimes we'll have a few of those, like we have a price and, we might have a name or we're thrown in a bonus, but we haven't thought these through. And you want all 7 elements in your offer. And when this is documented and it lives in one place that you and your team can go back to, it becomes like a single source of truth for everything else. Your sales emails are derived from this, your webinar slides, your website copy, your onboarding, your customer service responses, all the things, your socials. And by literally going through that checklist of each element, you can make sure that you don't miss anything. We love a system, right? That is a system. That checklist is a system. And we've got a resource for you that we'll give you. So even for us, and we've created hundreds of offers, we create dozens every year, it can be really easy to overlook something like risk reversal or to update bonuses or to mention all the inclusions in it or have a really compelling brand. Like anything can be missed, right, when we're in a hurry. So the checklist is really important. The other thing I love about having this system of creating our offer first and then thinking all the elements through and documenting it somewhere where we can have access to it is that it saves time. You don't have to start from scratch every time you go to promote your offer. You're just refining. You're not reinventing every single time.
Right. And we do this when we work together on an offer. We'll just open that document and write out what we think the offer is and work on it till we're happy with it. And then that is locked in. That is what it is. And, we've got things that we've promoted annually for the last few years. next year when we promote it, we just go back to that offer and say, do we want to rinse and repeat this, or do we want to spice up the bonus or add an inclusion or whatever it might be? So here's your sales system self-check question for this part, your high converting offer. You want to ask yourself this question as you check in on your systems around your offer. Is my offer fully defined in terms of all 7 elements of a high converting offer? And is it documented and available to all the key people who will need this information on my team? And as you think about this, reflect on what it's like now when you create a new offer or start a new campaign for an existing offer. Are you making this up each time? Are you searching through old emails and Canva files trying to remember how you described it last time, or what was on that slide where you talked about the offer, or what was included, or how did that pricing work again? Did we give them the bundle pricing, or what? And it can be super confusing. And then you start spreading that confusion out to your market.
Right. So I definitely recommend that you get a hold of this download. As Michelle said, we're going to put a bunch of resources in the show notes. And keep it handy every time you're creating an offer. But for now, we want to do our little check-in. And so let's go ahead and rate ourselves on how well your offer is systemized. So red is I make up my offer each time, or it lives in my head. I often call it different things or use different price points or inclusions. Orange is I have parts of it documented, but I don't have all 7 elements. And I'm not sure if it's optimized for conversion. And green is I've got all 7 elements accounted for in my high converting offer. Likely you're a listener of the show or a student of Michelle and mine if you've got all 7 of them. And this is saved in one of our master offer documents, and I revisit and refine over time, and my team is clear on this offer as well. So that would be green.
That sounds great.
And that sounds great. So go ahead and rate yourself right now, either mentally or on a piece of paper, when it comes to how well your offer is systemized, red, orange, or green.
That green level, when you've got all the elements, you've optimized it, it's in a document, you refine it over time, you do a campaign and you realize, we needed to do a bit more to get them across the line. We're going to add another bonus. So you add it into the document so it's all ready to go for next time. That's when you can move fast. That's when you can scale and start getting results. It's when you can delegate things to others, if you need to kind of get more team involved in your marketing. If you're realizing, as Suzi's kind of going through that red, orange, green scale there, that you're in red or orange around your offer, that's fine. I mean, none of us are in green all the time across all the parts of our sales systems. Here's your next step. We suggest you create a single one-pager for your offer. And do this for each of your offers, but start with one. It can be in a Google Doc or a Word document or Notion, or pull out your phone if that's where you like to put things. It doesn't matter. What matters is it's all in one place, and include all those 7 elements we mentioned earlier. Even if you're not launching right now, even if this is a product in your product suite where you're going to maybe do something with it later, just having this done means you're ready. So obviously you want to prioritize the things you're going to be working on right away. And you can use that template that we mentioned, which has all 7 elements all laid out for you. You've just got to kind of fill in the boxes. And we gave it away in our newly updated Content Sells episode 254, How to Craft an Offer That Sells. We're going to put a link to that, as we said, in today's show notes. So you've got a template for your ideal client. You've got a template for your high converting offer. And if you're thinking, I love all these templates, Suzi and Michelle, but how do I get you guys to help me with this? You might want to consider joining our Marketing Success Mastermind, because this is something we do all the time for our masterminders, help them work this out. And it makes a huge difference to their results. And we'll give you a link to the mastermind so you can learn a bit more about that in today's show notes as well. So this is one of those systems, the high converting offer system, that pays off again and again. You'll come back to your documented offer every time you make a tweak or update your pricing or learn something new, so you can continuously make it better, and that means more sales.
Love it. So we said at the outset that there are 9 parts. We're going to do some of them in this show and some in an upcoming episode. And so far we've talked about your goals, your ideal client, and the offer itself. So now we want to talk about how to systemize how someone actually buys from you. And this is one of the common gaps we see. People are doing great content, they've got a solid offer, but there's no defined journey for how someone moves from, oh, I've just discovered you, I know you exist now, to yes, I'm in, here's my money. And that's where your sales funnel comes in. This is the strategic path, the journey that your ideal client takes to get your offer, to buy your thing. And at its most basic level, every sales funnel needs to guide someone through 3 key stages of the buyer's journey. And those 3 stages are, number 1, awareness, where they first discover that you even exist. Level number 2 is consideration, where they're deciding if you are the right fit for them. And stage 3 is conversion, where they're actually saying yes and they're purchasing. So they're the first 3 stages of the buyer's journey. But we also recommend you include 2 more stages in your sales funnel system. And these are the higher levels, if you like, of the buyer's journey, and they happen after conversion, which is the 3rd stage that I just mentioned. They happen after the sale, and they are number 4, loyalty, and that's what happens after the sale that keeps people with you. They stay clients, they come back, they buy again, or they buy other products and services that you sell. That's stage 4. And then the 5th stage of the buyer's journey is advocacy. This is where people are championing you, they're referring clients, they rave about you, they are your advocates. So systemizing this funnel means that you know what content or what activity brings people into awareness, into your world. Maybe it's a podcast like the one you're listening to. Maybe it's a lead magnet. Maybe it's a direct messaging strategy. However it is that people come into your world, it could be a social media strategy. That's your awareness stage. What helps them move into consideration? Remember, consideration is where they actually think, is this the right solution? Is this person the right person for me? And you could be doing that through your emails, through telling stories, through answering frequently asked questions, through testimonials from your existing clients, things that let them know that you are the right choice, and that if they are experiencing a challenge, a problem, an issue, that you are a good solution for them. And so we've got awareness, consideration, and then you want to think about what is your actual conversion mechanism. So what is it that you're actually going to do to buy? Do you write proposals? Do you do presentations and make offers from stage? Do you run webinars? Do you do sales calls? Do you have a sales page? Is it a direct messaging back and forth system? So what is the mechanism that you use to convert? So for me and Michelle, often it's either a course that leads into the mastermind. Sometimes it's a webinar that leads into a course. So we have specific ways where we actually make offers. So what is your way that you make the offer and you say, okay, you can buy from me now? And then beyond that, how do you move them forward to buy your next offer, to refer their friends, family or colleagues, and move up into those loyalty and advocacy levels that I just mentioned? It's a wonderful model, the buyer's journey. And maybe we'll put a visual of this out there for you as well if you're not familiar with it. It's a great way to think about, what stage are people at? Are they just getting to know who I am? Are they actually considering me? What activities am I doing for consideration? What am I actually doing to ask them to buy? And then once they've said yes, what's beyond the yes? How do I get them to be loyal, or how do I get them to become advocates? And this, again, is another system that you can follow to get more sales.
100%. And, again, you might be picking up a theme here, but we recommend you document this. So draw it out, write it down. And we recommend you document your sales funnel. That's part of your system, right? Getting it written down before you start any campaign. Draw out all the steps and think about what you need. Do I need, after they've clicked on the ad, where are they going? Do I need a landing page? What might I, think about putting on that landing page? And then do I then have, after they've opted in, I need a thank you page, and then I need an email that goes and says, here's your lead magnet, or here's your registration. Do I need a reminder email sequence? Do I need, if my funnel is less of an online automated funnel and it's more about, hey, when somebody calls in, here's our script, here's our process, here's who we transfer them to, here's how the sales report gets updated, here's how we do our follow-ups. So just draw that out. We just recently had one of our masterminders do this. She gets a lot of, inbound inquiries for fairly high-ticket, high-level consulting services. And she drew the whole thing out. Then she met with her sales team. She got them on board with it. She got them agreeing. They all agreed on what the core language was so they could understand each other and how they're going to record their leads and their ranking system for, the priorities of follow-ups and things like that. So it's incredibly powerful to document your sales funnel. So your self-check-in question for this part of the process is, do I have a documented step-by-step funnel that clearly outlines how someone moves from not knowing me to buying from me and beyond? How do I get them moving through that buyer journey? Now, again, we're going to give you the red, orange, green self-rating system that you might apply to this. As you think about where you're at right now with your sales funnel, with the way you're systemized around that, maybe you're red if this is you. I don't know the steps or stages. It's kind of random. I just sort of talk to people and, figure out how I can turn them into sales. Or you might be orange if you're thinking, I've got a general sense of the steps, but I haven't documented it. And it's not always consistent. That would be orange. And green is I've got my sales funnel mapped out. I've got a repeatable step-by-step sales journey that reliably converts my ideal clients. And again, yippee for green. Like that's what we're all going for, is finding ourselves in that green state when it comes to our sales funnel system. And if you're sitting in red or orange, a great first step is just simply to map out, if you're not sure about what your system is, think about the last time someone bought from you this particular product or service. Just think about the steps that you had in that journey. Where did they first find you? What happened next? And what happened after that? And what did you notice about the thing that really got them over the line? What helped them to feel ready to say yes? These are all things that will help you unpack what your sales system is. And then ask yourself, what content or conversations did I do or could I add into that process that would help to build trust, that would help people move forward? Was there a clear moment that you set yourself up to make your offer? And if not, how might you do that better? Was there a deadline or an incentive, and how did you communicate that? Once you've mapped all this out, save that funnel diagram somewhere visible and use it as the starting point to intentionally design your sales process. You want to share this with your team, like Tracy from our mastermind did, shared it with her sales team, got buy-in. And here on this show, you've mostly heard us talking about sales funnels in the context of the marketing mountain. And if you haven't heard the marketing mountain, you must be new to this show. But essentially your job is to craft a journey, that buyer journey that Suzi was talking about, that takes your ideal client from the bottom of the mountain, not aware of you at all, don't know who you are, to the top of the mountain, hey, I want to buy your thing. And that top of the mountain is where that conversion step happens. Somebody is buying from you. They're saying yes. They're giving you the purchase order. So think of the mountain like an upside down funnel, because a lot of the time the funnel is wide at the top and narrow at the bottom, and you just see, gravity just spitting sales out the bottom after you've poured a bunch of leads in the top. But the mountain concept is turning that around, that you actually need to craft a journey that defies gravity and helps people say yes and really deliberately move through those stages of awareness, consideration, conversion. And then what are you doing to help them buy from you again and become loyal, or move on to another mountaintop and buy your next thing? And what are you putting in place to help them refer others and advocate for you and share your links or do all of those great things? And we've got lots and lots of resources on the Marketing Mountain in other episodes, and we'll give you the links to those again in today's juicy show notes.
Juicy show notes this week. And just a reminder, the Marketing Mountain, it isn't a funnel that just drops people into your offer. It is a climb. If you imagine a mountain, to climb to get to the top. And your job is to make each step of that climb feel valuable, clear, achievable. And as you grow, you can start building in, to maintain this mountain analogy, ski lifts, ways for your clients to move to your next marketing mountain, to you between your offers. So maybe it's your next offer. they'll go to a longer term program. So if we think about our businesses and we think about those areas that we said earlier, map out your products and services and how many you're going to sell, if you imagine each of those as a marketing mountain and you imagine in your mind's eye a series of mountains, then you want to, as again, this is a little more sophisticated, but I want you to put yourself in the future there, is that you can build these ski lifts as people, once they come in on one mountain, then you have a systematic way to get them to visit another mountain, to buy the next thing from you. That's where you really start stacking momentum and increasing the lifetime value of these customers and increasing your profitability and your revenue. This is good. If I do say so myself.
You can see why we wanted this on 2 episodes. I mean, it's juicy, but it's a lot, right?
It's a lot.
And it's one bite at a time. If you distill each of these steps we're talking about, is just get what you can documented and then just work on improving it from there. Have a system to improve the systems.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll map out these areas, what they are, these things we've talked about in the show notes as well, so that you have them. So you've got your sales journey mapped out now, right? Imagine you've done that work and you know how people are going to move towards your offer. Then the next system we want to focus on is making sure you know when things are happening. And that's where your marketing calendar comes in. And a marketing calendar is one of the most powerful and underused systems in your sales process. Right? Because we think marketing, creative, no, marketing systems. We're talking
great.
Timing, scheduling, knowing exactly when you're going to make your offer. This is what makes effective marketing. If you're getting your sales activity out of your head and into a well-planned campaign calendar, you have more chance of success. It's one of the most important things you can do is to get more sales without burning yourself out, without burning your team out, without burning your audience out, because you're always saying, buy my thing. One of the biggest reasons people don't make sales is that they don't have a plan for when they're going to ask for the sales, when they're going to be selling. So they're creating content, they're engaging, they're busy, but they don't have a campaign. They don't have an offer that is timed to a particular date and time and connected to a level of activity. So the offer doesn't actually get made, or if it does, it's squeezed in at the last minute without enough lead up. Now, inside of Mastermind, we refer to this as your runway, the runway to your offers. And when we're putting together our calendars, we want to make sure that we're positioning our promotion so that we have enough lead up, enough runway to have them all be successful. So you want to make sure your offers are not being offered at a bad time of year. You want it to be the optimal time of the year. Are there too many campaigns one after the other? And so you're scattered, your team is overwhelmed, you're overwhelmed, your audience is like, stop sending me stuff. So when we talk about scheduling, marketing calendars as part of our sales system, we're talking about creating a simple, repeatable rhythm for your promotional windows. And that means knowing, amongst other things, when you're going to make an offer, what offer you're making, when, and how long the sales window is. And when you need to start warming up your audience in the lead up to that sales window.
And again, this doesn't have to be fancy. We're suggesting that, written down on a piece of paper that you stick on your wall or on a whiteboard is better than nothing at all. So you can do it with a wall calendar, a Google Sheet, or you might be somebody who likes using tools like ClickUp or a project management tool like Asana or Monday or whatever you like. But what's important is that you're planning your sales windows, your sales timing in advance, and you're giving yourself enough time to prepare. You're looking at your year and thinking, does this all make sense? Does this all fit together? Systemizing this part of your sales process means treating your calendar as the strategic tool that it is. Time is one of your most valuable resources. So your calendar is not just a list of appointments or tasks. It's a strategic tool, especially when it comes to your marketing. So for example, if you're running a webinar to sell your course, and then you're going to, do the webinar and then open the offer up for the course for the next 7 days, and then you're going to close it again because the course is about to start. That might be your approach, your sales funnel, your sales strategy. As you're thinking about your calendar, the sales window for this, well, when does the lead up to the webinar start? If the webinar is on the 14th of the month, how soon before that do you need to be promoting the webinar? And how soon before that do you need to warm your audience up around the topic for the webinar? When do the emails go out? What date and time is the webinar? What date and time does the offer close? What other campaigns might be happening around that time that might be a clash? When is the ideal time of year to do that particular offer, to make that particular thing available? And looking at your year in that bird's eye view, I think this is truly one of the most valuable things you can do for your marketing and for your stress levels. Look at that bird's eye view. You can make a massive difference to how hard you have to work for your sales, to how much pain and suffering you build into your year. Because you can see where it's bunched up and it's going to be too hard, or where it doesn't make sense to sell this before that. We should swap those things around. Or, hey, that's right before Mother's Day, and maybe we can make it a Mother's Day campaign. So you need to make time and space for this kind of strategic calendar thinking. And this is something we do with our masterminders all the time. Every November, we said we like that time of year for kind of annual planning. We actually have a bonus planning day to get that big picture of the year ahead in place. And then every 90 days, we create space for our masterminders to get into the nitty-gritty of their sales calendar. So it aligns with their offers, their content plans, and their own personal schedule. We've got a masterminder who has a few big trips she wants to do next year, and she doesn't want to be doing her major promotions around that time. We've got another masterminder who likes to spend some time in Europe visiting her daughter and her grandchild. And so she builds her campaign calendar around that. Because if you don't schedule it, it either doesn't happen, which is a very real thing. If there's not a date on it, it's another year and you haven't done that promotion, or it happens under stress, or it happens at the last minute, or it happens at the wrong time to really succeed. And all of those things are just so like soul crushing when that happens. And we've got a number of content sales episodes, surprise, surprise, on planning out your marketing calendar. And we're going to link to those as well in the show notes. If you're thinking, hey, this is an area I really do need to get more systematic about and I want to learn and build my skill set.
I want to say one more thing, because maybe you have an always on sales funnel. So maybe you sell earrings and you sell them all year round, or food products, or gym memberships, or maybe you're a corporate trainer and you're always on, you're always taking new clients. The key for you around this marketing calendar is still to think about manufacturing the timing of your marketing. Because what often happens, and I'll use consultants as an example, is we get a new client, we're there head down working with the client. When we pop our head back up, the sales funnel is dried up because we haven't been doing any marketing. But if we had an conscious, deliberate marketing calendar where we understood the idea of lag and that the effort we put in now may not be realized in results immediately, then we could time our marketing activity, our content marketing, our sales processes to line up with when we were needing new clients. And if you are a product, if you sell products, then again, how do you manufacture promotions? Is it a new range of jewelry that's coming out? Is it a brand new food product? Is it that, it's slimmed down for summer gym membership? And gyms are actually quite good at this idea of having seasonal kind of promotions. But you don't want to be going, oh my gosh, and we've had this conversation a couple of times. It's like if you sell heating, you don't want to be promoting that the moment that, winter starts. You want to have planned that promotion so that people have their heating installed before the cold weather starts, right? And that takes that deliberate, conscious thinking about the timing of your marketing and creating that marketing calendar. And there are some great resources, frameworks in the episodes that Michelle mentioned, including this idea of the runway that I mentioned, how to make sure you leave enough runway in the lead up to making an offer. Also how to follow up campaigns, even how to stack campaigns so that you maintain your momentum. So you put things in an order, what that makes the most sense and actually moves people to buy from you. And we even have an episode that is about moving people to higher priced offers. So again, juicy notes coming up. So do check out those other episodes. Now, when you're starting to systemize, it's really good idea to have a high-level map of your next 12 months. That's why we started by talking about vision. Like, do you have enough sales activities and campaigns in there to meet your sales goals? Because it's all well and good for us to set the vision, but then we've got to move our feet. We have to decide what's going on the marketing calendar in the next 90 days. What is my key objective over the next 90 days? How does that move me towards my 12-month big kahuna? And looking ahead at the next 3 months, and we work in these 90-day cycles inside of her business, in the mastermind, in the wider community. So you want to block out And do this exercise, like in the next 3 months. What are your offer windows? That is, when is your promotion opening? When is it running? When can people buy from you? When is it closing? What are your runway windows? So the runway, as we mentioned, this is the lead up period where you start to tease that something's coming. You start to get people used to a topic that you're going to be delivering an offer around. So this is the lead up period where before people can buy from you, and it includes those early stages of the buyer's journey: awareness, getting the eyeballs into your world so they know you exist, and then consideration, starting to share information, answering questions that has them consider you as a solution. So your offer windows, your runway windows, and then your fulfillment windows. When are you going to deliver on the things that you are selling? So if you sell courses or coaching programs, when are they going to be delivered? You want to make sure that's in your calendar. If you're fulfilling orders from your Black Friday sale, when is that happening? And so on, so that you don't have overlapping promotions that are going to, once again, burn yourself out, burn your team out, have you feel frazzled the whole time, or dropping the ball, which we don't want to do. The other thing to factor into your annual plan, and this is something that our masterminders do at the annual planning day: when are school holidays? When are other industry promotions? When are you taking travel? When are you delivering? Your calendar is a strategic tool. It's not a to-do list. It's not just a timeline. It's really about you being strategic in your marketing. So we've come to the sales system self-check question as it relates to your marketing calendar. And that question is, do I have a sales calendar that clearly defines what I'm selling and when I'm selling it? And does that calendar have enough sales activities and campaigns to meet my sales goals? So if you're guessing each month or saying, I'll probably launch this sometime in October, or you're constantly finding you run out of time to get enough traffic to your offer, so you end up running programs or launching memberships or developing a new product and then you don't get enough sales, it's probably because you haven't given yourself the time. So it's a sign that you need to put more time and focus on systemizing and optimizing your marketing calendar. So here's a helpful way to rate yourself in this. And again, we know we're going for green, but I'm going to give you red, orange, and green so that you can rate yourself. And red is, I promote reactively. I don't have a marketing plan. And I know this is a lot of business owners, and that's okay. This isn't to come down on anyone. It's just to have an awareness. Once we have the awareness, then we can make some decisions. Orange is, I've penciled in a few sales dates, but I have no supporting structure. And green is, I plan my sales activity at least 90 days ahead and align my content and lead up activity to support it so that I can achieve my sales goal. So take a moment now. When it comes to your marketing calendar, are you rating yourself right now as red, orange, or green? So just take a minute to do that now and we'll move on.
Yeah, and what I like about that green explanation you just made, Suzi, is that it's not about the quantity of activity. It's about just making sure you're doing what you need to be doing to achieve your sales goals. So it doesn't mean you've got to have something in that calendar every month. It just means you know when your offers are coming, you've planned those out, so you've got this optimal use of your year, and you're doing enough marketing activities to meet your revenue targets. For some of us, that might be an annual promotion, a big launch or something. For others, it might be a monthly campaign. For others, it might be every quarter or twice a year, or on Mother's Day and Black Friday, or whatever it might be. So it's just finding the cadence that works for you and that fits in with your goals. So if you're in red or orange, your action step that you might want to think about doing is to do that high-level map of your year. And you don't have to wait till November, the magic time to do it. Just start right now and just do that mud map even. Just a high-level overview. I've done it as simple as on literally the backs of napkins. I did it once on a keynote slide, one keynote slide, where I just put all the months in and just wrote something in when I was working with a client. Any way you want to just map that high level out. And then you may need to do a more detailed plan for your next 90 days at least. And then you can kind of get that in motion, and then you can work on the next 90 days. And as you get more systemized, as you do this more and more often, you'll get better and better at understanding how much time you need for things and, what campaigns to focus on and in what order. But start by choosing one offer that you want to sell and decide when you want to make that offer. And then ask yourself, when do I need to start warming people up? When does the sales window open and close? What do I need to have in place before that to be ready to open the doors do I need to create slides and have ads, and when am I going to have those going live? And you want to get your team's buy-in around these dates and times if you have team. And then importantly, get it on the shared calendar, because once it's scheduled, it becomes real. This is the equivalent of writing it down. And you can start building your other systems around it. And this is absolutely one of the most powerful shifts you can make, from hoping sales will happen to actually designing when they will happen.
Yeah, I love it. We are making such great progress because now you've got your sales goals, your ideal client, your offer, your journey up the mountain, the sales funnel we talked about, and your sales windows all mapped out, and a sense of where the gaps are in your sales systems right now because you've rated yourself across red, orange and green across those areas. So the next thing you want to do is systemize your sales messaging and your assets. And we're going to cover that and the remaining parts of this self-check-in in an upcoming episode. There is just so much good stuff here. We can't squeeze it into just one episode. So there's plenty for you to get started with. And as I said, we'll continue on in a couple of episodes with the rest of the elements. So you want to be sure that if you are new to the show, that you subscribe to the show, that you click follow or subscribe wherever you are listening so that you get access to that episode as soon as it's released. And in a moment, I'm going to share a link to the show notes with all those resources that we mentioned, all those supporting templates and downloads and other podcast episodes, etc., that we've mentioned. So stay tuned for that link. But first, we love putting this show together for you. We are up to episode, I think this is, what is it? 270. And we have over 100 5-star reviews for the show. So if you're a long-time listener, thank you so much for listening. If you're a new listener, thank you so much for listening. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we would love it if you would leave us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts. Now, one of our regular listeners says, Suzi, Dafnis and Michelle Falzon, I always learn so much from listening to your podcasts. They're a key part of my marketing education. Thank you. And that is the lovely Veronique from Unique Tenants Consult. And she helps distressed residential tenants reclaim their dignity and respect in their relationship with property managers and owners. And her services include information on rental rights and responsibilities, industry-specific knowledge, and negotiation strategies. So, Veronique, thank you for being a long-time listener. We love that we can be part of your marketing education. And more than anything, we appreciate you reaching out and letting us know that you're enjoying the show. So, we promised these notes, Michelle. I better give people a link.
Yeah, I know. We'll have the storming the gates otherwise.
So anything we've mentioned here on the show can be found in today's show notes, which we are putting over on our website at herbusiness.com/system for sales, all one word, herbusiness.com/system for sales. Now, the next episode is not part 2 of this episode. It's actually a special interview. Michelle, do you want to tell us what's coming up?
Yeah, I love our interview episodes, and we're talking to somebody who is super smart when it comes to how you can grow your business with stories that sell. And this is someone who is a marketing genius. She's been a ghostwriter for lots and lots of books. She has had clients that are, globally successful influencers. And she's going to be sharing with us the story that's sitting around in everyone's business that is the absolute number one story that you need to be telling that will get you sales. She's going to talk to us how you can avoid that, what she calls the DIYer never buyer, because a lot of us are creating our stories and our content for that person and they ain't never going to buy from us. And so how do we tweak those stories so that we're actually appealing to the people that will buy from us? And surprisingly, a lot of those people that will buy from us are already in our world and they've been lurking around the edges and we think they're not paying any attention to us. When we can start telling the right kind of stories and using the right kind of frameworks, and Kendall's going to fill us in on some of those, you can turn those long-time lurkers into today buyers. And I'm really looking forward to this interview.
Right, and that's coming up 2 weeks from now. So as I said, remember to subscribe to the show the other thing I mentioned earlier is if you have questions, you can find us at Her Business on Instagram. If you want to send a direct message, Michelle and I can respond there. Or if you go to Facebook and you look for Content Sells Podcast, you will find our page. You can always ask us a question there as well. Michelle, anything you want to say before we go today?
Oh, look, I think if you're feeling like, wow, I was in a lot of reds and oranges today, don't despair. This is great. It's like awareness. Where are you going to put your energy and your focus? And so just pick one. Pick one of the systems that you are a red or an orange in and dig into some of the resources that are in the show notes for you and put one foot in front of the other. One more thing systemized in your sales process is going to make a difference. And then you can do the next and the next. And we're here to support you. And, I know, and Suzi, you've said the same. We'd love to see your questions and we want to cheer you on as well.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time right here on the Content Sells Podcast. Bye for now.